Deep in the uncharted reaches of the Vorten expanse, a distress signal flickered through the void, a weak, broken transmission barely strong enough to be detected by a passing trade vessel. The signal came from the Argos, a mining ship that had been declared missing weeks earlier. When the salvage crew arrived, expecting to find wreckage or, at worst, a derelict ship filled with decomposing bodies, what they discovered defied all logic. The Argos was intact, its systems still running on emergency power, but there were no signs of the crew. No bodies, no struggle. It was as if the people aboard had simply ceased to exist. As the salvage team explored the silent corridors, they found something far more disturbing than an abandoned ship. Deep in the cargo bay, a strange black substance pulsed and shifted, as though it were alive. It clung to the walls and floors, spreading in intricate patterns, like veins running through a dying body. There were no known records of any element, mineral, or life form resembling it. And then they saw the writing. Across the bulkhead, scrawled in what looked like blood, were the words, "Do not touch." The Argos was quarantined and towed to the nearest research station, where scientists worked tirelessly to understand what had been found. The material was unlike anything known to science. It was neither solid nor liquid, but something in between. It reacted unpredictably to its environment, shifting states, absorbing energy, even altering its density at will. Standard containment protocols failed. No force field or material could fully restrain it. Samples exposed to radiation became more active instead of deteriorating. Extreme cold slowed its movement, but only temporarily. It was almost as if the substance was adapting, learning how to resist attempts to control it. The more the scientists studied it, the more unsettling the discoveries became. One researcher observed that the material behaved as if it had an awareness of its surroundings. Instruments measuring electromagnetic activity detected inexplicable fluctuations, almost like brainwaves. And then the disappearances began. At first, they were small anomalies, files went missing, logs erased, security footage corrupted. Then lab workers assigned to study the substance started vanishing. No alarms were triggered, no signs of struggle left behind. Surveillance cameras that should have captured what happened showed nothing but empty hallways, as if the missing people had never been there at all. But when forensic technicians analyzed the footage frame by frame, they found something chilling. Shadows moved where there should have been none. Objects subtly changed positions between frames. And in one particularly horrifying sequence, a scientist was staring into the darkness, frozen in fear, just before the recording cut to static. Fearing what they had uncovered, the Galactic Council classified the material under the codename Void Matter. The research station was placed under total lockdown, and the most brilliant minds in the galaxy were brought in to study it. Yet the more they tried to understand it, the more the station itself seemed to change. Crew members reported strange whispers in their quarters, voices speaking in a language no one recognized. Hallways seemed to stretch and contract, their dimensions warping as if reality itself was unraveling. The breakthrough came too late. Void matter, they realized, wasn't just a substance. It was an entity. It wasn't just consuming energy, it was learning. It mimicked its environment, adapted to technology, even replicated the appearance of those it had consumed. Some reports claimed that missing crew members had been seen walking the corridors long after they disappeared, expressionless, unresponsive. Their eyes empty voids of shifting blackness. Containment was no longer an option. The Council had to make the ultimate decision, complete planetary sterilization. The research station, the moon it was on, and even nearby celestial bodies were incinerated in an artificial supernova. Billions of credits in research, some of the brightest minds in the galaxy, entire ecosystems, erased in an instant, all to ensure that void matter never spread. The official reports declared the threat neutralized. But deep down, those in power knew the truth. They had no way of knowing if it had really been destroyed. For years, the galaxy remained silent. No new incidents, no signs of void matter. It seemed as if the crisis had been averted. But then, new distress signals began to surface. Isolated research outposts, deep space colonies, and even heavily fortified military installations started going dark. The disappearances followed the same pattern: no distress calls, no survivors, just empty rooms and corrupted data logs. The signals came from places light years apart, with no logical way for void matter to have reached them. And yet, wherever it appeared, one thing remained the same. Scrawled on the walls, in every location, in every language, was the same warning. Do not touch. Panic spread among the scientific community. Investigators reviewed old data, searching for something they had missed, some way the entity could have survived. And then, in an archive of corrupted logs, a final, chilling message was recovered, one last transmission from a scientist who had been studying void matter before the station was destroyed. Her voice was weak, her breathing ragged, but her words sent a chill through every researcher who heard them. It's not a material, it's not a life form. It's something worse. It doesn't just consume, it replaces. It's looking for something. No, someone. The last known sighting of void matter was near the outer rim, on an uncharted planet. A group of explorers had landed there, drawn by reports of strange anomalies. They never returned. The only clue to what had happened came from a damaged reconnaissance probe that barely made it back. Inside its memory banks was a single, corrupted image. A vast, empty landscape. And in the distance, a humanoid shadow standing completely still. But there had been no one else on that planet. No one knows where void matter will appear next. No one knows if it can be stopped. The only certainty is that it's still out there, watching, waiting. Perhaps it has already spread further than anyone realizes, lurking in the forgotten corners of the galaxy, hiding in the dark spaces between the stars. Perhaps it's closer than we think. And perhaps the most terrifying question isn't whether we can stop it, but whether we even recognize it when it's already among us.